You're listening to the Misfit Therapist podcast with Dr. A, where it's all about talking through some messy psych shit so we can all get better soon. This show is not intended to diagnose or treat mental health disorders, nor is it a substitution for mental health services. Please seek counseling, medication, or crisis intervention services if needed.
Well, hello, Misfits. This is episode 8. We are calling this Love is Pure and You Are Not, part 1. And we are specifically talking about what you are forced to do in a romantic relationship that makes them tricky, which means we have to put in some work. Falling in love can be easy and amazing, but staying in love and the things that accompany a relationship are not. They take work. Love is infallible. Love is perfect. People are the ones that are imperfect. People are fallible. And we make shit super complicated. A romantic relationship will be the most or one of the most rewarding and difficult journeys you will ever embark upon, as people bring in their entire life story into a relationship and try to figure out what it means to be partners. I have had amazing relationships and really unhealthy ones. I've endured stretches of loneliness while healing. I have been entertained, entangled, and at times super bored. But despite all of this, I love love and believe in love fully, and so should you. So, why are relationships so complicated? Let's get into it. Number 1, because relationships force you to face yourself. When you're alone, you're not triggered, but when with someone, they ask things of you that bring out your insides, and you can't avoid yourself. You get a really clear view of who you are when you're with someone else. Why? Because relationships bring out unhealed issues. It's not fair to bring unhealed issues into a relationship and expect someone else to solve them for you. A partner can be gentle and understanding and be a witness, meaning they can sit and support and listen, but they're not responsible beyond that. You can't blame old stuff on your partner, but we do it all the time. Previous trauma, childhood abuse, neglect, abandonment, and so many more issues start to contaminate and bleed into the relationship. I often hear, Dr. A, that's not true. I was with someone and I never felt like myself. And I behaved in ways that were not like me, and my partner made me feel and behave in ways uncharacteristic of me. I was someone else, so I disagree with you. I didn't bring anything into the relationship. Well, not exactly. You were you. The fact that you failed to stand up for yourself, that you dismissed red flags, and that you decided to shrink yourself for someone else tells me you are not in a space of self love, in a space of being healed. So you came out. Your vulnerabilities came out, and what you learned from your caregivers during childhood came out. It took center stage. Conversely, that partner you just mentioned, their use of profanity while addressing you, calling you out of your name and not seeing your worth, treating you like a child, that part actually, that's not you. I don't care what they feel you provoked. That's them. And let that be them. Let them own that shit. That's messy and unkind. And once again, thank upbringing, genetics, and choice for their behavior. So, where is the positive in all of this? Well, forcing to face yourself allows you to embrace things that maybe you hadn't thought about before. It is a powerful tool for further self discovery and change. But this can only happen if you're willing to listen to feedback, own your own observations of self, and have a willingness to make changes. That's right, choosing new ways, healthier ways of thinking and doing. The second thing we are forced to face: difficult conversations. Depending on your nuclear family, your original nuclear family, the family that you grew up in, you may not have been exposed to or coached through working through difficult conversations in a healthy way. Maybe your parents avoided certain things, swept shit under the rug, and now there is an elephant in the room that has made its way into your home, into your relationship. And guess what? Having difficult conversations or getting through them also not taught in school. We didn't learn how to navigate this, at least not my generation. My generation of teachers and even bosses didn't want to have difficult conversations. They wanted my compliance. The world has changed since then, thank God. In a relationship, if you ignore things, sweep under rugs, and you start to collect pet elephants, the relationship is never going to work. We have to choose to navigate disagreements, build trust together, and talk about tough subjects. To be close, to build intimacy, we must talk. When we don't do so in a healthy way, we fight, and that builds resentment, turns into a lack of respect, and eventually the end of a relationship. Relationships are built and strengthened by our ability to communicate effectively through the tough stuff. This moves our relationship from shallow and hollow to amplified and deep. It's about connection. The third thing that we are forced to do in a relationship, compromise. Yeah, your life involves compromise. Whether it's at work, with friends, or with family, life is supposed to be a beautiful balance between your wants and needs and those of others. And being in a relationship takes things to a whole new level. When you're single, you don't have to worry about someone else with regard to where you're going to eat, how you want to arrange a living space, who's going to wash the dishes, etc. In a relationship, or at least a healthy one, the need to compromise pops up everywhere. I see a lot of couples in my practice, and I often hear, well, they knew who and how I was when they met me, so there. Oh, yeah? Well, how is that working out for you? The bottom line is that you are no longer just trying to meet your own needs. You're also working, well, hopefully, to create harmony, connection, and love. And this means that at times you will not only have to compromise, but sacrifice too. And let's not take this out of context. This doesn't mean that you have to give up every part of who you are. The best relationships are made up of individuals who know and understand their boundaries. However, relationships force us to let go of some of our comforts and costumbres. That's Espanol for habits. This is challenging, but it's also liberating. As you let go of what you know, you open yourself up to new stuff, hopefully decreasing the suffering that you go through when you don't get your way. You should feel free in a relationship, and if you don't, we've got work to do. The fourth thing that relationships force us to do, be vulnerable. Vulnerability is the scariest thing that you can experience with another person. Even if you've been vulnerable with friends or family, this vulnerability is different. Relationships require vulnerability. Our hearts must be wide open, our partners kept close, because otherwise we will not be able to connect in a meaningful way. You have to be open, transparent, and who you really are. If you pretend to be someone you're not, the relationship will fall apart because you can't keep that mask on forever. Eventually, you're unmasked, like a bad lucha libre fight. But Dr. A, I'm not proud of my past. How should I share? How much should I share? Great question. Tricky question and a very personal decision. Share as much as is relevant. Share as much as is needed to be understood today. But if it's not a problem, or you don't believe that it's going to become an issue in the future, then arguably you can leave it out. Also, in a new relationship, be mindful at first of what you share. No, this is not being guarded. It's allowing you to gauge whether or not you can trust this new person. And trust is earned. It is an honor to hold someone's difficult moments, and not everyone is honorable. The good news is that your ability to be vulnerable is truly a superpower. I've said this before, and can positively add to other areas of your life: friendships, business partnerships. All too often, we feel like we must live guarded lives, but relationships allow us opportunities to be unafraid of sharing who we are and simply being brave. The fifth thing we're forced to look at: expectations. Expectations in any relationship can bring the relationship down when not being forthcoming or discussed with your partner. We're so afraid to talk about expectations when we start to fall in love, and worse, we think these things will work themselves out. No, we need to talk about them. Part of expectation is also intention. What is your intention with me? Straight up. Do you want a partner? Do you want to date 40 people? Just want to sleep together? What is it? And what do you expect with regard to communication, affection, religion, politics, how we celebrate holidays, toilet paper brand, crunchy or smooth peanut butter? What are your non negotiables? Also, believe people the first time when they say something to you. If you expect to have kids, for example, and your partner doesn't want kids and you have them anyway, this will go very badly in the future. Also, if you expect someone to change a bad habit in the future, they may. That's fantastic, but most likely not. If they mismanaged money while dating, they will do so later on. Personality is consistent over time, folks, and that is an evidence based statement. We all have a vision of what we want, and then find it hard to be flexible about those expectations. These expectations are learned, cultural, and maybe even Disney. Disney isn't real, and if we dissect these Disney movies, these people have tons of family issues. Where is mom? I can't seem to find dad, and women are always in distress all of the time, except maybe Mulan. She was okay with severing heads. Your idea of what the perfect relationship is may never happen, or it partially happens. Example: awesome dating relationship, and once in a committed union of some sort, things start to change. To make expectations worse, couples engage in comparisons. You've heard me say this in other episodes. Comparison is the killer of joy. You compare your partner to former partner to social media posts that again are not real, to your friends' relationships, and then you become fatigued comparing. Yeah, fatigued, tired. Comparing stuff, partners, lifestyles sets the wrong bar for your relationship. So sit down with yourself and ask, what are my absolute non negotiables, and what am I willing to look at in a different way? Relationships take practice and doing, which means action. Just like all other areas in our lives or things we want to be good at, we need to not only try, but do in a relationship. I have learned that in order for me to feel good about a relationship, any relationship, I have to be willing to show up, be fully present, be equitable. Because otherwise, if you fall out of exchange, you feel abused. And I also have to be willing for that person to change my life in some way, even if it results in a breakup. It's okay. It has taught me so much about number one. Who's number one? Me. It's you. I have learned that in a partner, we need both compatibility and chemistry. Because chemistry is great, but chemistry alone won't work in the long run. Sex is awesome, but I would hope that you would want more out of life than just that. It will never be about someone completing you or me, because I'm whole and complete just as I am. So are you. I don't have another half. Last I checked, my mom birthed me whole. I didn't come out some half alien. I have learned that relationships must mean growing together, because if one person stops, we quickly start to see an imbalance that may be really hard to correct. I have learned that the act of maturing, both individually and as a couple, is mysterious as all hell. and that we grow through our intentions, willingness to put in work, and sometimes by surprise. In the end, I believe that romantic relationships are one of many powerful tools. Yeah, I said tools for walking through this thing called life. In wrapping things up today, I want you to look at the areas covered in today's episode: facing yourself, difficult conversations, compromise, vulnerability, expectations. Where is your area of opportunity, or do you have more than one? How do you plan to grow? Again, without a plan, we're left empty handed. So, what will your action steps actually look like? If you're in a relationship and plan to be with someone for the long haul, consider going to couples counseling. It's so incredibly helpful to process your feelings together with a more neutral party. Notice I said more neutral, because straight up, if you say something crazy in my office, I'm not going to let you get away with it. You'll be challenged, and you may be told that you're wrong, because some things just are. We are done for today. Thank you so much for listening. Part two of Love is Pure and You Are Not comes out next week. I'll keep you in suspense for now because working through some anxiety is healthy. Continue to connect with me by going to themisfittherapist.com and on Facebook and Instagram. I am loving your requests on topics. They keep me on my toes and keep them coming. Till next time.
Thank you for listening to the Misfit Therapist podcast. Show some love by sharing this message and simply by living each day like a badass.